The profile,
What would it be without me doing this?
the famous Leary profile.
Oh, I see something that says live.
Does that mean we're live?
Yes, it does. Look at that. It seemed to be a little quicker today.
It knows you're competing with LinkedIn now, and it wants to
It wants to
wants
make
to
me
put.
happy.
That's right. I want you to stay.
All right, now I'm just sharing it to my profile. Are going with CRM Playaz. All right, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I almost forgot what this is like because you went on vacation and I almost forgot what we do with the CRM Playaz.
We talk about Amazon.
I thought that was with somebody else.
I can't speak to that one. I was on vacation. Maybe you replaced me.
Oh, no. There's no replacing you. Although, while I was at Connections last week, to fill the role of you, I had like 5 or 6 people all at the same time rifling through. So there was Ray Wong, there was Esteban Kolsky, there was Vala Afshar, there was Nicole France, there was Ron Miller. And,
Holy cow.
and even all of those folks could not fill your seat.
I'm that fat?
I knew you were going to say that as soon as Anyway, we are the CRM Playaz, and for the first, I think this was the first week or two that we didn't really do anything this year.
Yeah, it was. It actually was. It was amazing. We have, 5,000 episodes so far this year, and 5,000 to come.
Well, as long as we're not in Vegas for all 5,000 of them, I'm
That's probably 2,700.
I'm just so happy because I'm home and I don't even have to go to the airport this week, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm going tonight.
Yeah, right.
Heading to London.
At least you had a nice little voyage.
Yeah, it was good. We had a lovely trip to Alaska. It's beautiful out there, man. I'll tell you. It's majestic. Although, it's funny. All these people, you always read, some of them are friends, some of them just people on the web who are always saying, it was so great being disconnected, and I really should have. I thought it sucked being disconnected. I don't like being disconnected.
That's because it made it harder for you to keep up with the Yankees. So
that was, yeah, I had to watch game day instead of watch the game.
Oh, no.
Well, Old Timers Day is today. It's actually starting in 1 minute, so I'm taping it.
Oh, okay. Wow, in 1 minute.
And Mariano is back for Old Timers Day.
Well, he could still, he probably could still throw the same pitch at the same speed and do the same things, which is strike out anybody who he goes up
against. Well, they play a game with Old Timers Day. The Old Timers play, so he will be in that game. It ought to be really interesting to see how bad he makes them all look.
I know. He's amazing, even to this day.
I know.
All right, so while you were gone, nothing happened really in the industry.
Yeah, pretty much expected that.
Other than, Salesforce bought Tableau for almost $16 billion. And that was announced on the first day of Microsoft's big conference. And then last week there was, Salesforce had a conference. And they announced their big CDP thing. And Adobe also announced a big CDP thing. And Oracle kind of made fun of them announcing their CDP things after Oracle had already announced their CDP thing.
Huh. So they were all tied to the Chicago Department of Police.
Yeah, they're all down with CDP.
That's right.
All right. What do you think of the newly sprung CDP wars in the CRM industry?
Well, first, props to David Rabb for creating the whole industry, really. I mean, the guy did an amazing job. And, I've always been sort of up and down about the whole idea, period, because for two reasons. One, to me, it was just a specifically focused instance of a system of record, right? Meaning you will have access to data that will support your effort in marketing, was sort of the way it was originally set up. And I always thought, some good analytics and a very good, let's say, search function in a manner of speaking, you could do that anyway. But, I understand its purpose, don't get me wrong. But then, even though I kind of got comfortable with the idea of a CDP, then it got into everyone and their mother was claiming to have one, right? And sometimes it was literally what I just said it was, meaning it was their normal CRM transactional, system of record that they pulled some marketing data from, or it was something they had invented completely that they just wanted to be in that market, had nothing to do with marketing even necessarily. Right. And then David kind of expanded the definition and broadened it, which, again, the guy owns that market. Really, he's the godfather of CDP, right? So, right,
he's even got the institute to back it up.
Right, and he does a lot of good work with that, I have to say. I like it. But, with the broad definition, that came a lot more players to kind of come in and claim it. And now everyone's claiming it. So I'm having a hard time with, A, figuring out if they really have one. B, and I know, you had mentioned, you and Dennis and some others had been talking about the CDP and at Salesforce, and somehow, and correct me if I'm wrong, but somehow the way I sort of picked up on that was that you were more or less thinking that was actually a little limited for the definition of what Salesforce had. Is that true or not? I'm not sure. I wasn't here. So.
Well, I think, this was on a pre-call that Dennis and I were on the week before, and we were talking to some of the execs, get briefed on the announcements, and I think Dennis kind of said, why is it focused on data when it's really all about information at that point? And I think that was kind of his thing. Why just title this a data platform where it's really more of an information or insights kind of platform? So I think that was kind of his main thing. But we were at Oracle MCX, and they announced CX Unity, and that's a CDP platform, but it's not just based on marketing,
right?
Which
much bigger to me. I actually think CX Unity is going to be Oracle's centerpiece, really, and it's a good one. If they actually have what they announced, they're going to be playing big,
right? When it comes to the Salesforce announcement, because they go so deep on the customer engagement and kind of customer success, let's face it, a lot of their clouds are the number one clouds in their respective categories. So, kind of based on the revenues, let's put it like that, they're the number one selling clouds for these. They have a pretty good argument in saying, well, yeah, our customers are asking to make it easier for us to leverage the data across the multiple Salesforce clouds in addition to third-party stuff. So, you can see how there's an argument there for them. And, you look at Adobe, of course, they go extremely deep on the digital interactions and experiences under their Experience Cloud. And so, it's almost sort of like, well, what took them so long to get to this point? But now that they're here, they're like all here with a vengeance, although they're mostly still announcements. We still haven't really seen anything in action yet. I think Adobe said they're in beta, and Salesforce it's going to be coming by Dreamforce or something like that. So a lot of these things I think are announcements to let customers know that, hey, we've got something here and you'll be able to use it shortly, but it's not quite here yet.
You know what occurs to me, and this is just kind of preliminary in my head right now, but um, based on what you just said, really, is they're actually limiting themselves to get into the market, the CDP market, but it's not what they actually have. If not a single one of them is limited to marketing, except maybe even Adobe, we could say, yeah, well, but they made a point of changing the name of the cloud because it was no longer just marketing, and it went to the overarching or the highly specific kind of consumable experience building and execution. And so none of them, and Salesforce is talking cross cloud, and Oracle CX Unity is cross cloud, and none of them are marketing per se, which is what the definition of a CDP is, right? So but CDP is a hot market, so they want to get into it. But what they're doing is constricting themselves deliberately, I guess, and honestly, at a certain level, stupidly. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's really pretty stupid. They're constricting themselves deliberately to be able to be in that market when they're building, at least if we're correct in what we're hearing, cross cloud or bigger than marketing one way or the other. And, Adobe, I'm sort of saying, is bigger than marketing. I'm not sure how it crosses their clouds per se. And so I think I'm going to announce a new market. Customer engagement. No, it's just a customer engagement platform, right? Or something. Right? I mean, ultimately, they're all talking about engagement experience one way or the other, meaning, so we're going to, how about you and we form the CEP Institute?
No, you know what? I think you're right. Because you think of what Adobe's, their CDP has to be focused more on B2C, at least at this point.
Right.
Whereas Salesforce, B2B and, B2C. And then Oracle, it's everything. I mean,
right.
It's CRM, it's human capital management, it's ERP, it's it could be. And I don't even know what SAP is doing yet. I'm sure there's got to be an announcement coming soon. They can't let the other guys get away. And then Microsoft, I guess they're just gonna piggyback off of Adobe with the partnership and have a CDP for them, I guess.
Well, the other side with Microsoft is, when they, at the Business Apps Conference, they announced the extended Power Platform stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's citizen apps, right? I mean, when it boils down to it too, I mean, they're really building it out from a platform standpoint wide and making it, it's kind of the other market that's hot now, which is the low-code, no-code market, that whole thing. And that's, them and BPM Online and Pega kind of sits in all of those too. It sits in both of those systems.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing it points out, though, is, design, usability, UX, all of that is becoming a bigger deal to everybody, meaning how easy to navigate, how easy to build, making everything easy for people to do things, which goes to the heart of everything. Whether you're calling, all the CDPs are, we want to provide you with insights that are valuable to you, but really, at least these CDPs, the ones we're talking about, across the universe of your customers' activities, across their journeys, right? The other side around low-code, no-code is we want to make it easy for your employees and others to build the things that will make it easy for your customers, right? So it's really, again, this is like just roiling in my head like now, but ultimately we are talking about engagement here on a larger scale. Of course, I have a very big self-interest in that one, but
self-interest.
Well, if you have an interest in that one too, then it's Commonwealth self-interest. I need two of us for that, though.
All right, I'm there with you.
Okay, you did it.
So we were both at Salesforce Trailhead X or DX. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Trailhead DX.
Yeah, Head DX.
Head DX.
And that, like you said, it was low code, no code, and really kind of evangelizing their army of developers to to stretch out and be more involved in AI and kind of, you know, even starting to talk a little bit more about blockchain and how, you know, kind of getting their developers initiated into that so they can do more with that. And then even at Pros,
Yeah.
and, you know, they talk about bring your own algorithms. And,
Yeah.
And in Microsoft, one of the bigger announcements around the kind of building out the Power Platform was, you know, bring your own AI and be a citizen AI, you know, kind of developer. So are all these things kind of going hand in hand? I mean, we've got, you know, the CDP, you know, wars going on, and that's all around data and integrating data. And I think when I talked to Bobby Janey over at Salesforce about this, one of the things he said that was important to them from a CDP standpoint is not just the integration of data, it's making it as actionable as possible and allowing and setting up marketers to actually use it in real time. And I think, yeah, that's a pretty big distinction that needs to happen. You know, it's great to have it integrated, but how do you make it usable as quickly as you can and get it in the marketers' hands and let them, you know, leverage whatever that nugget comes out. So it's like hand in hand. There's, you know, low code, no code, and there's bringing data to the masses from all over the place.
Well, you know, that actually really, you remember a few years ago, actually probably a decade now, that whole thing about democratizing the workplace and leveling the hierarchy. I mean, back then, you know, it gained credence for a short while and then died because it was ultimately stupid. But it was ultimately stupid. I mean, you're not going to level the hierarchy. You need people to do things that are specific, right? And some of them have to be leaders and some of them have to work with those leaders to do things. However, what this is doing without leveling hierarchies is enabling employees and enabling customers, right? And potentially, again, it's both early stages in terms of that and early stages in terms of my head, right? So, right. So I'm not really 100% on what I'm saying here, but I'm sort of working it through now. But what it really
while you work it through, let me say a quick hello to two of our favorite folks, Sandy Lowe.
Hey, Sandy, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, and Letty Ledbetter.
Letty,
yes.
Yay! Big hug to both of you.
Two of our favorites.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's kind of early over there too, so.
Oh my, yeah. Well, 8:15. They're probably getting ready for full days on the West Coast. So the thing is that, again, it's just starting to play out. They're putting, you remember early days, customer control of the conversation, and then there was talk about the employees had to be engaged in order for customers to be engaged and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's sort of what's starting to happen. The tools are being handed to the employees and the customers to do the things within parameters that are being set either by the business for the employees or by the customers, in effect, actually still by the business to a certain degree, to kind of customize and improve things so that they can personalize them and use them themselves in ways that will benefit the employees and the customers, right? And so there's the insights from the CDP, low code, no code, to make it easy on developers to do things. Salesforce's blockchain was actually understandable by human beings, right? And human beings could actually use it as opposed to somebody who was deeply embedded into, you know, into not only mining Bitcoin, but actually was the creation of the tools for mining, right? I mean, you had to be that originally in order to even understand what the hell it was. Now, what was, to me, Salesforce effectively managed to create, let's call it and I'm using this word really loosely here, a mildly democratic blockchain, version of blockchain for people to use. The same way that Microsoft created the Power App
Power
stuff, right?
BI, yeah,
Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Platform are all kind of citizen based, and
right.
BPO Online's pushing developers are developing apps in 20 minutes on stage, and things like that. These are competent apps, right? And then on the other side of it, the customers themselves are being given the opportunity to engage via tools and easy devices and communication and capabilities through mobile platforms, right, which are giving them microservices, which are making it very easy for them to kind of put together packages of microservices that are useful to them rather than have to work. I get this from this app and this from this app and this from this app and that from that app and this from this app. Now it's like, okay, here's these 6 things. No app I have to concern myself. Here's these 6 or 7 things I need to do and can do them now. And it's appropriate to me. It means something to me. Again, early in my head, but I think all of this is moving us toward convenience and ease of use and engagement and empowerment, in that regard on all those sides. I'm going to think it through more. I'll have a long flight to London to do that.
Well,
but
I was thinking as you were talking, in all of these, these tools are getting created, and like you said, for the employees and for the customers to a certain extent, and particularly when it comes to like on the service side, you have self-service tools. I think are really going to change the game for the way service is done, and almost every vendor I talked to over this conference season, I asked them the question about, are you seeing the budgets starting to turn from 80-20, 80 being focused on giving employees the tools they need to service customers, and 20 being on giving customers more tools to service themselves, to shifting to turnover and making it 80% of the budget is going to be spent on giving customers tools to service themselves versus 20% for employees to service customers. And they all said the same thing. It's like, yeah, that trend is real and that's happening. So does that also happen on marketing, or is it going to be like a self-marketing kind of switch where we're going to have more tools put into the hands of customers to determine how they get, they set up how they want to get content and messaging and things like that? Does that somehow go over to sales? Do you start giving consumers more and more tools for self-selling, as opposed to putting most of the tools in the hands of the salespeople? Is this a trend that's getting started because of these no-code, low-code starting in the company with developers and employees, but eventually does that philosophy carry over into consumers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, we think about it, we have a lot of that already. Like on the self-selling, that's Amazon, pretty much. I mean, you pretty much are. You don't need a salesperson to deal with Amazon whatsoever directly, and then even on B2B level, at least at a certain level, you don't need the salesperson. You just go to Amazon Business and buy there, or other e-commerce tools. And it's where e-commerce had become immensely valuable. Again, not a pillar of CRM. I'm not in that yet. I'm never going to be there. I mean, CRM is what it is. But e-commerce has become an important, I'll call it second piece to all this, because it does actually engage customers from the get-go, right? It's built for customers to determine and control how they buy, right? And what they buy. And the other side, on the marketing side, we've had that at a certain level, even though it's not been recognized exactly this way, but it really is this, which is any review site in the world, right? Any place you can go, anytime you go on your mobile phone, like when you're standing in the store and you're looking to buy something at a store, and then you go online to look up reviews of this versus that, that's self-marketing, right? I mean, it really is marketing too, because, the reviews you're making a decision based on information that's being presented to you, which is what marketing is anyway. So, how it gets presented, another whole story. But but the foundation for all of that is already pretty mature, really, on the consumer side at least. And this, in fact, service at a certain level is last to the game, right? Even though now it is, right? Well, we didn't have, web self-service for a long time. We had knowledge management, and that was as close as we got to it, which was a start, and it's been around, 20 years, so, or more. So we have a lot of this stuff already in place, and it's just a matter of how it grows and expands, which, I personally can't speak to at this point, and stop making forecasts and trend decisions, right? But that move is there, and I think it's really important. And a lot of it, depends on, in terms of what's given to the customers to do what they need to do, is dependent on the knowledge by the business of the journeys of those customers, right? And I think that's where, needless to say, I'm flying to London to see Thunderhead, so obviously journeys are on my mind. But, nonetheless, that's really important, so that on the business side, as long as the journeys are fully understood, then the businesses can determine, okay, we'll provide them with these tools for marketing, sales, service. And e-commerce falls into the self-selling side, of course, and then so on and so forth. So, I think it is something. I think we're really kind of onto something based on this. And now that you're talking about that trend, kind of flipping in service, it's a big deal. We're probably approaching some sort of significant. I mean, I shouldn't say approaching. We're in the midst of a significant shift, a paradigm shift of some kind, but I don't know exactly what that ends up looking like yet. I'm not even close to knowing exactly what that. Again, most of everything I'm saying right now is coming off the top of my head, is purely speculative, and nobody can attack me for it because I may be wrong completely.
I just I want to see if we hear the citizen developer terms, and it's really meant for employees to develop stuff under the umbrella of the company, but do those tools make it out to customers not only use things, but actually develop their own kind of services that allow them to create their own customized, personalized experience with the company that is completely developed by the customer?
I will tell you what, that has been a lot of our dreams for many. Doc Searles and VRM, man. Doc is the pioneer of VRM, and that would be the part of VRM that had always been difficult to achieve, which was the tools in the hands of the customers to create their own engagement, their own interactions, their own overall experience. And I think it is actually moving there. For some reason, unfortunately, I can't really detail this because I can't remember, not because it's secret. I'll say I'm under NDA, but it really is just because I can't remember anything. Right? Somebody and I literally don't know who, were talking about that exactly, and this person who was a senior management guy at one of the companies. This was literally since I've been home. I think I know it may have been, but I'm not sure. We're talking literally about that, about how this company, this vendor, large vendor, recognizes that, and that are doing things in that direction, and is seeing that as a very strong possibility in the near future, which is providing the customers with the tools they need to craft their own experiences, really. Which is ultimately craft their own experiences and craft their own engagement, right? And I said, because the reason I remember is because I went, that's VRM, and he said, absolutely, and this person knows Doc too, and absolutely. I mean, that shows you what an incredible visionary Doc has been.
I'm ready to say, how far ahead of his time was that? 20 years ago or something?
Almost. I tell you, I remember the original VRM committees, Harvard, and all this whole other thing.
Wow.
Doc's a rock star, though. He still is. And one of the He's also one of the nicest rock stars in the entire world. He's just a kind man.
And he's a big fan of basketball. My only conversation with him, somehow we got talking to basketball, and I had no idea he was as big a fan of basketball as he is.
Wow, didn't even know that. Who does he root for? I can guess, but.
Well, he's up in the Northeast. So.
Right, I'm guessing.
It ain't the Knicks.
Right.
All right. So
how could you not root for the Knicks with R.J. Barrett?
Well, we'll see. He seems like a nice kid.
He's a nice. He'll be ruined by Dolan shortly.
Well, that's unfortunate. All right, so now we got to rename ourselves. We're going to become the CDP players. After all of that. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, you ruined us. You ruined us, man.
Okay, so let's move to one that we are excited to talk about a little bit, because I know I've probably been to at least 12 or 13 conferences, maybe, I don't know, this year already. With half of them being in Vegas, unfortunately. Probably more than half of them being in Vegas.
More than half. If that's number.
And I know you've been to a lot of conferences this year.
Probably a little less than you, but right around there.
Yep. So we've seen analyst conferences. We've seen user conferences. We've seen conferences from magazines like CRM Evolution. We've just seen a whole lot of stuff this year already, and it's only the midway point. So because we've gone to a lot of conferences, we've seen a lot of speakers, we've seen some great ones, we've seen some not so great ones, we've seen some entertaining ones. We decided for the very first time we are going to do the CRM Playaz, and I don't know if I'm going to get it right, Conference Mid-Season Awards.
You nailed it.
I really had to think about that.
I know.
So, it seems like 5 years ago, it doesn't seem like there was this many conferences going on, at least this early in the year, did it?
No, in fact, and the irony of it is several companies have eliminated their national user conference, and yet there's more national user conferences than there ever have been.
Right.
I've never seen anything like it.
And there's also more analyst summit kind of
Yes,
conferences.
well, they're getting smart about that.
Right. So between the analyst conferences and the user conferences, or and the organization conferences like CRM Magazine, there's just a ton of them now. And although I've been to a lot of them, I missed a lot of them too, because
me too.
There are a lot of them going on at the very same time as the ones we go to are.
Yeah.
So we can only talk to the ones that we've been to, but we've been to enough of them to say let's have some fun. Let's we sit with our group of folks and we share notes. We talk about what we like and what we don't like, what we think would be a good change. And so we said, well, why don't we just go ahead and do our own little conference mid-season award.
Yeah.
So,
and
go ahead.
The thing, we were at that time, because there were a couple of conferences that were significant that neither of us went to.
Right.
So that that they didn't lose when we announced them, or they didn't win or lose. We will tell you which ones they are, so that they're just eliminated from the discussion.
Right. Yeah, because we wouldn't want this to kind of make it look like we went to something and the folks didn't win, and it's actually they didn't win because we didn't go to something.
Right. So we will be clear on at least the bigger ones. There's probably a million we didn't. At least ones we were invited to that we didn't get to go to.
Right. For one, we know there's a huge one that we didn't go to
because
we were at ServiceNow, which is SAP Sapphire. Neither of us went to it, so unfortunately, we can't give an award to an event we didn't go to.
Right, nor can we make it. We don't want them to seem like they didn't win because they were bad. We just weren't there.
Right. That's it. And I guess we'll have to, between the two of us, because I went to some that you didn't go to.
Right.
And I think you probably went to some that I didn't go to.
I think,
So
yeah, one maybe.
right. So we got to figure out what we're going to do with that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, though.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But some of the initial categories that we came up with, I really like. I like this. Best CRM Playaz episodes at an event. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, it is. Although I have some initial nominations. There are two or three.
I do too. So, but that's going to be a good one. How about best exhibition center?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And
okay. Yeah.
now we may, given we are the CRM Playaz, we haven't talked about this part yet, but we may have worst too. Worst thing.
Right. Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
So be prepared to be ashamed.
I don't think we should do like a worst MC because
No. Won't be individual. It will be conference wide.
Right.
Not individual.
Although we do have a most interesting keynote, non-vendor speaker, and a best vendor presenter during a keynote. So there's two separate things, but we're not doing the worst of that. It's just best.
No. Those are...
Yeah. Best overall consistently good content throughout the event. That's a biggie, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
That's going to be a real tough one.
And it's either going to be, I'm not going to tell you what, it's either going to be tough because there are several candidates or because none of them have had any consistently good events. So, I'm not telling you which.
I like this one. Best analyst event setup.
Yeah.
Who made our lives easier throughout the process? That's going to be a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah. And there is distinct candidates for that one.
Best venue.
Best
venue.
It's funny.
And that kind of Vegas. I don't know. That kind of do we take away points?
Yes, absolutely.
Although
there's one good venue.
There's the one venue is awesome.
Right, that's true. There is one awesome venue, Vegas, and it will get its consideration.
It definitely will. Absolutely.
That's like Stan and Ollie. We just did that. There's one.
Yeah, that's right.
It definitely will.
All right, now this one I'm going to lean more towards you because this is more in your category. Best analyst meal.
Okay. Yep. I actually know what that is, right?
Because to me, a hamburger and fries is a really best analyst.
That's right. Best meal. Best meal. Burger Barn.
So these are a few of the categories, and of course we're going to have fun, but we're also going to think seriously about it because some of them are serious categories. So
yeah. So we're going to announce. Why don't you tell people when we're going to announce it?
Yes. So ironically, we will both be at the SEAT conference, Sports and Entertainment, or Sports Science and Entertainment Alliance with Technology. We've been going there for years. It's a great event. If you are interested in any kind of sports and technology theme, this is one. Well, unfortunately, you probably can't come to because it's limited audience. Because it's mostly pro basketball, pro football, pro baseball, soccer, college, big time college athletic directors come to this. But it's one of the events of the year if you're into sports and technology at the highest levels. And so they're having their event. I think it's July 14th to the 16th or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. That's
in Daytona, Florida, actually being held at the Daytona Speedway, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, very.
So while we're there, we decided we'll actually record and announce the winners. Maybe we'll try to do a live stream of that.
Yeah,
if we're able to.
I think we will be in position to do that.
So we are going to actually announce this live at SEAT at Daytona Beach. We should try to do it while driving one of the fast cars. And see
That'll be you. That'll be you driving.
But I think it's going to be fun, and we have 3 weeks, I guess, to nail down the winners, and we are definitely going to do that because we want to have fun, but we also want to give some distinction to some of the conferences and the people doing some great things at these conferences. And it's time. I don't think we've seen anybody else do it. So
no one's done anything like that. The only thing it was the vendor scorecard I used to do. So, and but I haven't done that for a couple of years now.
So
too much work.
This will take over.
That's right. Much more fun too.
All right, so be on the lookout. That will be. There's nobody that can't be submitted. This is all coming from us, our observations. We might ask some of our buddies to get a little of their feedback in there, but it won't be something that you could submit for or anything like that.
Right. This is literally what we want to tell you.
Right. This is coming straight from the CDP Playaz.
That's right. Or from our database, actually.
That's right. All right. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. All right. So you got to get ready to scurry off to jolly old England, right?
Yes, I do. I'm going to have a good time in England. I'll be back Wednesday. But interestingly enough, while I'm there, I'm not only going to be doing my usual advisory stuff with Thunderhead, who I actually really, really enjoy working with, but I will be seeing the ServiceNow customers from Virgin Trains, who Brent, you and I both became very friendly with at the ServiceNow conference, and really some of the, aside from being really cool guys to hang around with, they were just like totally cool. They really have story. Oh my God, they're a riot, and they have story to tell too. So we have that, and then hopefully, I found out that Salesforce is doing its EMEA Analyst Summit, and Ann Chen and John Tashik will be there, and luckily, completely overlapping with me. So if we can make it work, we're going to meet for drinks on Tuesday night, if we can make it work. That's the night of their thing, and I'm leaving Wednesday, so that's literally the only night I can do it. So this should be a blast. And plus, plus I get to hang out with Thunderhead, which is always amazing.
Now that sounds good. So safe travels.
Thank you, sir. I will be in touch, as you well know.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg, old chap.
And we are still the CRM Playaz.
And we now are out.
All right.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get the... Now we're out.